I run a college in Australia. One of the things that's really going well is international students. We're predominantly an international student college. And we're getting students are coming from Philippines, South America, Colombia, Brazil, India, Sri Lanka. So we're getting, and also we've had some from, we're working hard on the Vietnamese market as well. What I guess the main thing is, I think no matter where people are from, there quite a few people are interested in studying overseas. And particularly Australia has become one of the popular spots because I would imagine that the lifestyle here is quite an attraction for a lot of people. So it's a good country to come and study. And if people are looking, how do I put it? In fact, most students who are coming to Australia, whether they're from the Asian countries or they're even from European countries, they're all looking, most people are looking for two things. One, education, and the other option is a possibility of being able to stay on in Australia, maybe go for a permanent residency as well in Australia. So that seems to be the main driving force. And it's I think for any student, that's the that's the one critical area that they need to decide. What is their purpose of coming to Australia to study? If their purpose is purely to come to Australia and study and go back to their country, then the courses that you select are, you've got a wider range of courses that you can go for. If you are looking for a potential pathway to permanent residency, then the course selection and the college selection has to be correct. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of agents overseas who literally cheat and con their students into going to Australia to any college to do any course. Problem with that is once the student gets here, they even if they finish the course, they have no other option than to pack their bags and go back to their country. So the courses that have the pathways, there's a list that the government produces every 6 months. And these are called the, what's it called? Long-term and medium-term skills occupational list. It's called the skills. Okay. So if there's a certain skills required in Australia, then those students can have a pathway. Now, an example, at our college, we have engineering, we have creative industry courses, which are graphic design, screen and media. We have aged care, we have early childhood, we have IT, and business studies courses. So we have these courses in there. However, if a person wants a really clear pathway to getting permanent residency, then engineering by far at the moment is the strongest course to do. And our students, I was just going through every student that's graduated from our college, I've managed to get them jobs in engineering companies where the company is not only ready to, is employing them, but also ready to sponsor them once they've done 2 years of work with the company. And that's what you need. So the requirements are you do a 2-year course, minimum of a 2-year course, a diploma or higher level, and then you can get what's known as a post-study visa for 2 years. So every student can get a post-study visa for 2 years. If the course is in a particular demand list, then those 2 years count towards their experience in Australia. And after that, the companies are very comfortable because there's a shortage of engineers. They're ready to sponsor these students for what's known as a sponsored PR visa. So after so much experience, they can apply for this. So engineering by far has got the strongest option in that. There are other courses like aged care that also has a potential of the pathway. And same as IT. The IT courses also have this option available to them. Courses like at this point, creative industry, graphic design, screen and media, the student will get a 2-year post-study visa, but after that, there is no pathway for them. So that's pretty important that you find out what the student really wants from studying overseas. So that's an important requirement. And I just want to say hello to the another person who's just joined.
Hello, Ina. Can you hear? Ты нас слышишь? Yes, she is hearing. And can you see? Ты нас видишь? Ты видишь нас?
Okay.
Yes, she can hear.
Right. Yes, yes.
All right.
Good, good.
Okay, so that's the important part. Now, is finding people who are interested in potentially looking for pathways to live in Australia. Now, so selecting a course, is really important and critical in this manner. And also, and I'm sad to say, finding a really good colleges is also important. There are colleges that are just here for taking the students' money and not interested in the study part of it. And that's really unfortunate, and it happens. But so I think, you know, if you're looking at working like this for students, then eventually you'll need other colleges, other states that they're interested in, because not every student will want to come to my college or have a course that we have. So it's something that it's a business that as a business you can grow within your country to open up, say, Australia. I mean, most agents of ours handle Australia, UK, and Canada. So some students want to go to Canada, some want to go to UK, some want to come to Australia. Certainly within Philippines market and Indian market, Asian market, Australia is the hot favorite. Australia and New Zealand is the other option in there. So from my understanding, none of you know much about this industry. Is that correct?
Yes, pretty much.
Okay. All right. So what I'd be looking at is the way we've set up. I've got a very new agent who started their business in Philippines recently. And what they've done is they've got themselves a small office and advertising, obviously. And I sent you some, I think Fortune would have sent you some of the Facebook posts and things that these people use. So what the agent does in their own country is promote that you are agents, you assist students to find courses overseas, to study overseas, and in various courses. And one of the other things that you may have seen in some of the other ones is they all use this line: live, study, and work in the country. So as a student in Australia, you are entitled to work. Normally, you're allowed to work 20 hours a week, which then funds your stay in Australia and your fees. At the moment with COVID, there is unlimited hours of work available, and the government's allowed that to happen. So you can work 30 hours, 40 hours a week. The minimum wage in Australia for a student is around $20 an hour. That's the minimum. Now, in the current market, and some of our students are earning considerably more. They're in 25, 30, some are earning $35, $40 an hour as well. So what that allows a student to do is, once they're in the country, which is, you know, initial requirements or the initial payments, then most of the students are able to fund their stay and their fees within Australia to finish the course. So as much as a course might cost, like our engineering course costs $30,000 for the 2 years, initial payment that we require from students overseas is the first semester, which is 1 quarter. So $7,500 is what's required to get your, the documentation and the application processing. After that, we find most students don't need to bring money from their home families. They're earning enough to keep the course going. And once they graduate, then they get full-time jobs. So that's how it's promoted everywhere in the world. I'm just going to take away, my mouth's drying up. So having, so the idea of you as an agent is to set up a feeling, a comfort feeling that you have got direct relationships with these colleges. You assist the student in finding the right course, liaising with the college, and helping the student to do their application through the Australian Immigration Department. That's what agents generally do. They promote, they'll run seminars, they'll run presentations, sometimes on their own, sometimes they'll ask a college to do presentations for them. And quite often, I mean, at the moment, obviously there's been restrictions, but I travel around to all these countries to see my agents. We help them, we assist them and do presentations for prospects from your countries. So basically you become an education agent in your country. With all the marketing, advertising, we as colleges help you with material, promotional material. We have videos of student testimonials, just our flyers and various things that we help with this thing. So once, the way it works is then once you're advertising this in your country and you get somebody coming in to talk to you, the idea then is you talk to them, find out what they're interested in, what their real purpose is to come out to Australia, and then you collect some information, basically their educational background, their documentation for education, and a resume. From that, you will send that resume and those details to us as a college. We will have a look at that profile and say, actually, this student is good. He's got the right requirements, and I think he can do engineering. At this point, we will send a letter of offer to you as the student. We'll get a letter of offer through you, which explains everything, what the financials, what he requires to pay, what's needed, and what the stages are at this point. If the student agrees and he signs the letter of offer to accept, then the next stage occurs. And that is that he occurs, and then the student will make their initial payment to the college. And that goes directly to the college. And as a security, of just letting you know, the Australian government is very tight on that. The money that comes in for that student is locked in a, I keep forgetting the name of an account, a trust account. It's put into a trust account, and it's not to be used until the student arrives in the country. So the money is locked in and is safe. If the student withdraws for any reason, it's refunded, the full amount minus an admin fee, which we charge of $200. It will be returned to. Once the student makes that payment, we then generate from a government website that we have access to, what they call a certificate of enrollment. That is a proof that the student has been accepted by this college, and we have given him a certificate of enrollment. Having done that, then it's up to you as an agent to collect all the information, which is their passport details. You'll need their passport, you'll need their education transcript, you'll need their resume, and then something that the Australian government calls GTE, Genuine Temporary Entrant. It's a requirement, and in that one, it's what's known as a statement of purpose. This is where the student, and we'll give you plenty of examples of these samples, where the student explains why he wants to come to Australia, why he wants to do this course, and what benefit is this course going to do for him when he goes back to his own country. So what he's saying is, I'm doing this engineering course because, I'll give you an example. From Sri Lanka, a lot of students write their statement, I've looked at these, I've looked at this courses and everything, I want to do engineering. And having done that, the salaries in Sri Lanka are only this much. But with this thing, we have a lot of the Sri Lankan students don't stay in Australia. They go straight back because they get jobs in the Middle East. And once they get jobs as designers in the Middle East, their salary with an Australian qualification is considerably higher than they would get from a Sri Lankan education institute. So the student has to give a justification why he wants to study, how this is going to benefit them educationally, career-wise, financially as well. And those are things that we will help you, give you templates and to put that forward to the, and once all that's done and all the documentations are done, you as an agent will create a portal with the Australian High Commission, Immigration Department, where you as an agent will then lodge all those documents. It's a step-by-step procedure. It's different for each country. Certain countries require more documentation, certain countries require less. From the Netherlands, it's very minimal requirements. From Czechoslovakia, I know it's less requirements. From Russia, they require a certain amount of financial stability from the parent side of things. From other countries like Netherlands, I don't think that financial requirement is needed to be lodged. So all that, you as an agent, it's not difficult. We can go through it, help you on that side as well. You create what they call an IMI account with the Australian Immigration Department. And then we work through the process of doing that. Once you lodge your papers with the Australian High Commission, they will come back with a decision eventually to say whether the student's been accepted or not. The student's accepted, then obviously it's great. Then we organize, the student organizes to come to Australia, and we do all sorts of things like we'll help them with their find accommodation, we'll pick them up from the airport and obviously welcome into the college, and they'll do the course. That's how the system works. As you know, as an agent, you are there to provide comfort to the student and collect all the documents, some that you send to us and we say yes, and then we send our documents. Once you collect those documents, you lodge them with the Australian Immigration Department. Now, for lodging the documents, there's a fee that the Australian government charges, which is non-refundable. That's around, I think currently around $650 Australian. You as an agent, what the agents do is, if the student is interested and to go ahead, you will collect a fee from the student for doing all this processing and finding colleges for them. Now, depending on which country you are in, the price is driven literally by the country, what it can take. An example, Philippines, not a very wealthy country. The students generally pay around between $2,000 to $3,000 for the processing fee, plus the government lodgement fee. That's what they charge in the Philippines. In India, there is so much cash money that the students and the parents don't care. Some of these agents, they just say to them, the agents are offering them no fee, no visa, no fee. But if you get the visa, the agent is taking, give you an example, the agent will send to us their fees, say about $8,000, but they've collected over 20,000. Some are collecting $30,000 from the student. The market's ready to pay them. That's what they're paying. That's something I don't have a control of. In each country, you have to work that out. In Philippines, it's difficult for a student to be able to pay much more than $3,000. Individual countries have their own charges, and I think you need to work that out, what the parents are ready to pay for that, for your services, for doing that. And obviously your country has different costs. The cost of an office in Philippines is not in the main city, but in other cities like Cebu, Davao, is almost like $500 a month is a rental, and the people's salaries are $200-300. So they can charge different amount. What you also get as an income from that is you get a commission from the college for the fees. Let's say now we have a system, and good colleges are ready to pay around 20% commission on the fees. So and that can be paid on a quarterly basis or 6-monthly basis. When we collect the money from the student, that's held, and then that's transferred to you as an agent. That percentage is transferred to you. So it actually builds out it can build into quite a phenomenal business. One of my agents in Philippines sends in excess of 12 to 1,500 students a year overseas. Now, if we even look at their commission rates, like for my college, it's the $30,000 course for the engineering, they're collecting $3,000 per student per annum. And if they're sending out, say, 1,000 students, that's per annum, and most courses are 2 years. So they have 2,000 students, each paying, the college is paying them $3,000 per student. That's a phenomenal business you can build. I'm not saying that you'd be able to build that quickly, but these companies are doing that. But I have to admit, when I started the college and we started working, we actually started thinking, I'm at the wrong end of this business. I should be an agent. But based in Australia, it's not easy to do that from overseas. So look, this is a business. And I've always said the good agents, ethical agents, are actually genuinely concerned about their students' welfare. That they're going, and they're going to a college that's got a prospects, they've got pathways and everything, and the assistance given from colleges. So there are others who just pick out a college that gives them the highest commission, and the student gets nothing at all, nothing. And I don't think anyone here is of that ilk there. I mean, we want to do the right thing by the students. So that's literally a procedure, how we go about doing this business. So as an agent, parents and students in your country are quite interested, want to see that there is a stable business. So a small office is good enough to operate out of. Not a huge expense. And then it's literally promotional work. Filipinos on every week will do a presentation in their office. Anybody who wants to come in, they'll explain the whole procedures. And I'll send you some presentations that these agents do as well. They talk about the country. They talk about what the life is like, what the crime rates, all the different things, what the advantages of studying here are in Australia. They'll talk about the work rates, how much you can earn, and in things like that. We generally find that most students, when they're here, as I said, the biggest concern is financial, especially from a country like Philippines and any other country. After the initial fee, we find that the students can generally generate enough income. One thing I do emphasize, and I know it probably it's not going to affect most of your countries, that it's not feasible for a student to send money back to their own country while they're studying. It's not feasible. Philippines market, just the family structure, a lot of that is expected from the students. And I'm very clear, it's not easy while you're studying. The 2 years you're studying, you're not, I mean, you're reasonably comfortable. You're not going to be going to 5-star hotels or having coffee shops every day. Students generally live on cheaper meals where they can get it, cheaper meals, but it's doable. Once our students have graduated, our course, engineering course, is $30,000. Once they've graduated from this course, the jobs they're getting, our students are walking into jobs that are paying $55,000 to $65,000, plus superannuation, which is another 10% per annum. And once the student has his permanent residency after 2-3 years of experience, and they've gone for that visa, their market value in Australia, and that's without a bachelor's degree, is an advanced diploma of engineering, is around $80,000 to $90,000 a year. Some of our students who've graduated are on 130,000 already. One of the best student, he did engineering with us, and now he's become the national manager for a big trucking company, and he designs all the strapping systems for large size loads. And he's on $300,000 a year, but he's got a lot of responsibility for this one. So it's a good opportunity. Lifestyle wise, not knowing too much. I know a little bit about the Dutch kind of lifestyle, but I know we're getting a lot of interest from South America because those countries are struggling. You know, as graduates and engineers, the competition is horrendous, and so it becomes a little bit harder for them in that way. So that's the crux of it. All along the way, because you're all new, I'm more than happy to assist in any way we can. I can give you templates of how the people how they've started their businesses. We'll give you all the support of supporting materials. There's a couple of things that Fortune has just raised with me. Age wise, age of students generally 18 to around 40. Beyond that, it becomes a little bit harder for the government to give a student visa. That's unless, oh, sorry, I got to clarify this. For especially courses in our college, an example, they're going up to diploma level. You may be able to get these other courses, somebody older, if they're going for a master's or a PhD studies. But within our college, we're in what's known as the VET sector, which is a vocational educational training. Higher education, the universities are different. Their fee structure is phenomenally high. An example, most university courses are $35,000 a year. And I don't know how to put this, but universities have just become, the students don't attend. Half the time it's just online. They're downloading the lectures. At our college, it's face-to-face teaching because one, especially countries from Eastern European countries, the language. We need to assist, you know, they've got to get used to how the Australians talk when they're going into that. In a university, you don't never talk to the teacher. You may never even talk you'll do your whole course, never do that. Whereas in ours, every day, the student is interacting with me, with our teachers on an interactive way. And we're very proud of, we actually say, we put them on the spot, your turn, you do this question, you tell me, we get them to do presentations. So we're building all those skills, soft skills that are needed to get employment and be successful in this country. So that's how the system works in that way. At this stage, I would look, if you're looking at going into this, if you're looking at going into this, is to focus on a few courses. And at this stage, just say we have courses in engineering, graphic design, screen and media. I'd say IT is another one, and potentially the aged care. But for aged care, we get students from Philippines who are registered nurses already. So what they do is they do the course for 2 years, then they do a transition course where then they become registered nurses in Australia, and then their pathways are open. So I think initially it gets down to one state, one city, which is Brisbane. Start with that. If that, once that builds up, you'll get more and more people saying, I want to do this course. I want to do whatever, physiotherapy. Then then once you have a track record, then you can talk to other colleges, and I'll help you put in contact with other colleges to develop the different courses for your industry, for your market.
I have a question about language requirements.
Yeah. Okay. Language requirements. Generally, we'd like to see an IELTS score. I don't think there's a problem from Netherlands, but from Eastern European countries, we have a minimum requirement of 5.5 in the IELTS score. Now you have places in your countries that do the IELTS. There is one more thing that we are trying to put into place, and that's for people who don't reach that level. And that's being driven by South America. A lot of South American students want to come and study with us, but they end up wanting to do an English course first within Australia. So there's other colleges that we've put them in touch with, but we're looking at adding that to our scope, which may take us 3 months or so to get that on scope. Then what we'd be looking at is offering an initial English course based on the level they are at. And then we will say, yes, they're ready to transfer now into their main course. Other countries, the students do, I know from Philippines, there's not an IELTS requirement because their education system is in English. So from India, they require an IELTS score. From Singapore, they don't. From South America, they do. So country to country. And I can send you the list of requirements for each country. But we are looking at the idea, if the student doesn't want to do the English course or pass the English test in their own country, then they can look at coming to here, doing a short course in English, and then moving on to doing that test here and then carrying on with the course. So that's one of the other things. All of these things we'll assist and obviously helping you along this way.
Pankaj, what is the test here?
Sorry?
You mentioned some test here.
The IELTS test. That's the English test. However, eventually the student will have to do an IELTS test because to get their post-study visa, they got to have a certain level of IELTS, which most people, in fact, everyone has passed. It's not a problem, especially after 2 years of being in the country. So that's one age restriction. And working hours I've gone through with you. As I said, it works quite well in that sense. I'm trying to think of any other things. Has anybody got any questions? I know you will, after this finishes, you'll have a lot more questions, but it's literally, and one of the things we're lucky with here is we've got Fortune. So from Eastern European countries, Fortune's here to assist the students settle into the country as well. In fact, when we got our very first Filipino students, we actually hired a teacher, specialist as a nurse, to do that and made it a very comfortable transition for the students. Now we've got a good network of Filipino students, so it works really well.
Here's another question.
Yeah.
Where is a student usually live and
Okay.
where is it working? Is there any help? I think.
Yep. As far as students living and working, we assist. I mean, in fact, just today, I've got 6 students desperately looking. I've put them in touch and I've contacted the real estate agent, and they are going to rent a 6-bedroom house. So most students, once initially they may get temporary accommodation. Once they're here, they'll make contact with their friends and they say, let's rent a house together. And when they're renting a house, the rental has gone up a little bit now because since COVID, a lot of people in Australia have been working from home. And what that's meant is people from Sydney and Melbourne, where it's very, very expensive, have decided to move to Queensland. And literally, there's a huge demand, which is good. My property is almost increased by 60% in the last couple of years with the demand going up. So, but at this point, we're getting this house that I've sought for them is $800 a week. So around $130 per student per week. Now, just to break that down, let's say it's $130. And if you look at living costs, we're talking about food, transport, that can be another $100, $120. Let's say it's about $250 a week. And I'm not saying that they're living really, they're working together, they're buying food together and sharing literally the costs of everything. Then so that's what it's roughly costing them. And then with their salaries, they're earning around $20 an hour. And before it used to be 20 hours work only, but even then, most students did 20 hours of official work and quite a few hours of cash in hand business. So they did a lot of that. So most students were able to pay that and plus pay their tuition fees as they go along. So it's okay in that format. One other thing I recommend all students once you get going is I recommend they all get a driver's license from their country. Should have a driver's license because once they're here, jobs-wise, a lot of jobs, it makes it easier once you have a car, and cars are not that expensive. Most within 3 months, our car park all of a sudden gets full of cars. There's so many students have got buying cars straight away. And job-wise, look, initially we recommend the students take anything you can get. Initially, most of them are getting jobs like working in restaurants, working in cafes, working in supermarkets in that area. A lot of them get jobs as drivers, Uber drivers, or in that way, and they make good money. Or now there's a big one that's going on is the food delivery, Uber Eats, and there's so many of these companies have come up. One of my students, she rented an apartment right in the city, paying a lot of money, but in that city center, all the people are sitting in their apartments and they're ordering food. So in the evening, she's got an electric scooter. It picks up, delivers, and having a good life out of that one. So, and there are other things will help. In an example at the moment, one of the engineering companies I'm working with, they are so desperate to get people to do the laboring work, physical, running the machine or building steel frames. Our students are going to that company as designers, but now they're saying, if you got part-time who can't obviously do it, they're very interested in that. And they're looking at paying them $35 an hour, and they're ready to give them 30 hours a week. So that's a pretty good lifestyle even for a student. So yeah, I think, once, as I said, once you look at the idea of promoting your seeing what interest you're going to get from your market, are people interested in coming? Netherlands, I must admit, maybe a little more difficult because I think your education's free anyhow. Is that correct?
No, education here is also very expensive.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and I know that a lot of people are very exciting about thinking about Australia because of its warm and sunny there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is, I mean, no matter what anybody, it is a laid back society. And to be honest, I personally grew up in England. I've worked in the US and I've lived in Australia. So in some ways, I have a good perspective of English speaking countries, or the what we call the Anglo-Saxon culture. And honestly, Australia has been the best. People are more laid back. I've been very successful in sales, marketing, not only in the main cities, but in what people used to call redneck countries, but it's not. It really isn't. People really do are accepted very easily in this country. So yeah, and the climate is fantastic. Air is good, and I mean, Filipinos push the line. Crime is so low here, and safety. Students, I mean, can go out anytime they want, wherever they want. There's no issues at all. So it is a good country. And in terms of European, I've had Italian students. I've had French students come through. And you'd think that they wouldn't be looking at staying here, but every single one of them, once they get here, wants to live here. So it does, it is a terrific place in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So not sure if there's any other questions, but it really means that if you're looking at this, then maybe look at putting some ads in the paper or, you know, in the Facebook, setting up a company, maybe not need an office straight away. If you see there's a response that you're assisting students do that. I've sent you a few of the links as well of other agents, how they've got their websites set up. Different countries work differently. Philippines is very, very heavily promoted and works well within the Facebook market. Facebook is a great promotional thing in Philippines. In India, they do it by, because the sheer numbers, they have literally a 24-hour TV channel where agents come every day for 30-minute shows. Different, and yeah, so different requirements. South America is really pushing hard, and from one of my agents in South America, they also do a lot of Facebook promotion, and in that way. Plus, they actually do newspaper promotion because newspapers are still fairly big in those countries, South America. So yeah, that's really, can't think of anything more at this point, but I'm sure you will have questions, and I'll be going, damn, I should have told them this. I forgot that. So yeah. And at our college, it's really a good atmosphere. Myself and Noel, who's the other director, we have a direct connection with all our students. In fact, Fortune can actually verify this because her son actually did a course with us as well.
Yeah, that's all true. My son completed course in this institute, and he was very happy. Teachers are very supportive, and management really just amazing. I really recommend it.
Yeah. So, is there anybody got anything else they want or questions?
Yeah, I'm curious about, are there any age restrictions if someone older than 40, does this person has any chance to get Australian visa?
There is a chance. The eldest we've had, and I can only go by what the agents in each country tell and what they tell their market. The eldest one we've had is 42 years old. Now, again, I think it'll all depend on the country. And I'll be honest, from Netherlands, it probably could push it further. From Philippines, they are convinced, the Australian government, rightly or wrongly, are convinced that that person is not a genuine person who wants to study. They're coming for other reasons. It's just the way it is. And same from the Indian market. They want, an example from the Indian market is because so many students travel from India, and being quite open with you, 90% of them have no intention of studying. They have no intention of even attending the college. They come and they run. So Australian government makes it very hard for those applications from that country. They've got to show finances. They've got to do this. They come here. Even then, they still run. So age restriction from India, they won't take anyone who, they'll only take somebody who's finished school at 18, or for our kind of courses. If you're doing a bachelor, if you want to do a master's, you have a bachelor's in India, and then they'll give you a master's course. Different countries, different requirements. Looking at, I just looked at some of the lists. From Czechoslovakia, it's less. From Russia, it's a little bit more at the moment. From India, it's huge. Philippines is not bad. And I know from European countries like UK and Holland, it's almost 100% guarantee. It just the students get the visas. It's just the way it's structured in this place. So, anything else?
Very nice presentation.
Okay, I can sing if you wish as well.
Really clear.
So yeah, look, as I said, what I'll do is give a lot of information to Fortune about the requirements, documentation, but it's fairly straightforward. I think if you're going ahead with it, you've got some interest in it, I'll assist you in all the way to how the processing is done. And if things work out, I would love to come to your country and do some presentations to assist you in the marketing as well.
I will come with him as well.
Thank you.
One of the other questions that I have is about students from the Middle Eastern countries, Iran and Jordan. Yes, there are students coming from those countries. In fact, Hamid, one of our senior teachers within engineering is Iranian. He is from Iran, although he likes to call himself Persian. So, and he's a great teacher, and he's, you know, so yeah, we do get applications from, we've had applications from Saudi as well, and Oman. So yes, we've had the application, we've had students go through that as well. So yeah, it's available. So those countries are, again, we'll have to look at what documentation requirements from each country are different. So, okay, and what was the other thing we're going to talk about? You had a question? Yeah, those
We were
countries.
talking about something.
Yeah. I think that's, yeah, I think what would be good for all parties concerned is see if you can find a couple of people who are genuinely interested in going ahead with this. And then we can stage them through, and let's see, I'm more than happy. Let's get even one student for a July intake. Would be great from each one. That way you'll get exposure to what's required. And once that happens, then the momentum will build up on that side. In countries like Philippines, there are several agents in every major city. In India, you can go to every city and you will see 100 agents next to one next to the other. So I said, and different, you know, everybody has a different requirements in each country. So I don't know. What do you think up to now?
Well, may I say?
Yep.
In my experience, we also tried to go to Australia by study visa, and it will help to have in your college English preparing for IELTS, because
Yes.
in Russia it takes a lot of time, money, and because of it, some people they stopping this idea to go to Australia.
Okay.
And even they study, it's difficult to pass this exam. So I think, especially for Russia, if you will have this opportunity, it will be much easy. First to get visa for study English, like for 3 months, half of year, and then
the main
go
course.
to professional study.
Okay, that's something we are looking at doing this. However, in the meantime, I already have students from Mauritius whose background is French. What I've got is I've tied up with another college where that college is giving them an English course for 6 months. And I have given a certificate of enrollment for my course following that one. So that's already in place, but I would like to bring it in-house as well. So that is something we will do. So if there is any, even now, we can still work through that one where they'll attend another college for first 6 months, and then they switch over to our college as well.
I see.
To manage that in 3 months.
We're going to put the proposed, sometimes with the government, when you put in for a new course, there's an audit and everything else they'll go through. Sometimes it happens like this, other times they just drag it along. So I'm hoping that we can get it done quickly, but that is something we have decided, because not only from Russia, now South American countries are really requesting that of us as well. So yes, we will definitely be looking at doing that. So immediately we've got a workaround,
sure.
but we can do that. Yeah.
It's also idea not just to put in advertisement on the websites, social media, but in Russia, I know it's many forums where people talk, discuss about how to go to Australia.
Right.
And like we can do active advertisement. We can write about your college on these forums and find people there.
Okay.
I have
Actually,
this
interesting.
idea.
I actually have a Russian student who's fast. He's got his permanent residency in Australia. He did the engineering course, and he's become quite a successful businessman. He started his own engineering company, and he has another business which is secondhand cars. So he's got a different division. He's doing well. I'll get him to come and have a chat with you one day as well.
Yeah,
He went through where I used to teach, but now he's a good friend of our college, and he's actually taken a couple of our students to work with him once they graduated.
Nice, because I'm looking for my son, but 4 years more until he get 18.
Yeah.
So, but not so far. Yeah, thank you.
That's good. Okay. And there's one group down there in the corner that I haven't spoken to. Who's that? What's the name?
Инна.
Ina. Everything good?
Все хорошо?
Okay.
Yes.
I can translate.
Oh, good.
Спросите, я переведу.
Oh, they're frozen. It's okay. All right. If
Oh, they're good now. Инна, ты хочешь спросить какой-то вопрос? Я могу перевести.
no, the internet is bad.
Yes.
It's okay. Okay. If that's it, then we can close off today. But more than happy, anytime you can message me or Fortune, and we can have a one-on-one session again. Not an issue. I am so looking forward to coming to Russia, especially I've never been there, and obviously Netherlands.
Yeah.
That-
Not in
Welcome.
winter time.
No, definitely. Oh, one thing, I left England because 10 days of minus temperatures. I remember going to work saying, I hate this place. And that's when I came to Australia. And it's actually funny coming to Australia, being in Brisbane. Oh my God, I can see that. That looks cold. Coming to Australia, in Brisbane especially, as you drive to college, you drive to work, you see palm trees and everything. There's a mental things thinking, God, I'm on holiday here. It has that holiday feel.
Yeah.
And I would love you guys to come and visit us as well one day.